All right, it is TBR time for November and even a little bit of December. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you the books I plan on reading in November and into December. I don't tend to do a December TBR, but I do happen to know some of the titles I plan on reading in December, so I thought I would just add them to November, and then we would just have it all in one video. As the year is starting to get winding down, I find myself feeling a bit less and less committed to some goals because they feel like they're just not really possible. So I initially had done a really ambitious TBR for November, and I'm like, you know what? It was too stressful. So I pared things down into the books that I really feel confident that I'm going to read, and then I did pick one of my annual goals, one of my yearly goals that I believe I can finish, and then a couple things for December, and that's it. Like, that's it. And one readathon, very lightly. So it's a bit lighter of a TBR, because things just feel stressful, and I'm like, I don't want reading to be stressful. So these are books that I think, as I said, I want to read. I am committed to for some reason or another, and I feel like I can actually read them because I don't mind having an ambitious TBR, but right now I feel like I would rather have a realistic TBR and like succeed at it than pick all of the things and hit like half, which is what I normally do. So yeah, so we'll see how this goes. You know, I feel like every couple of months I change my strategy. Hey man, like, reflecting and revising is not a bad thing. So anyway, now I'm just babbling on. So first up, we are going to get to the books that I am reading for part of the Who Picked This Book book club, which is hosted by Nicole and JenJen over at Nicole's channel, Who Picked This Book. They do weekly live streams on Wednesday nights, and so I'm going to share with you the titles that are going to be for the rest of the year. These are all by Julianne Lindsay, and there is a romantic suspense series as well as a cozy mystery Christmas series. And I'll leave these schedule down below because there's a couple of dates that they're not going to be live streams, but they're around holidays, so it makes like total sense. And also the time change happens on the Halloween November 1st weekend. So I know for me, the time change for the live show changes. So if you've been participating, make sure to check that as well. Okay, on to the titles. Oh, that was a lot of intro there. Lots of intro. Let's get to the books. So the first one is Deadly Cover-Up, and this is, of course, by Julianne Lindsay, and this is the first in the Fortress Defense series, and these first four for Harlequin that are intrigue are all part of the Fortress Defense. So this is book 1, and then we move on to book 2, which is Missing in the Mountains. Book 3 is Marine Protector. I love this cover so much. Like, there's snow and like marine and like nautical and like all of that goodness. Hopefully there's nauticalness. I like stuff with nautical. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And then Dangerous Knowledge, which is the 4th book, and this one looks like it's set in a city, so I'm super excited about that. So those are the romantic suspense, and then the Christmas cozy mysteries are the 12 Sleighs of Christmas, as well as Twas the Knife Before Christmas. And I love these covers as well, especially because there is an orange tabby. I just love orange tabbies. There you go. So that is really wonderful. And these are under the name Jacqueline Frost, which is a pseudonym or pen name for Julianne Lindsay. And then also in terms of social reads, I may be doing some buddy reads with Izzy, Punk Rock Girl PA. We haven't had the live show for Our Dark Duet, which is our current read. I needed an extra week. She needed an extra week, so it hasn't happened yet. And we pick the next book at the live show. I don't know if she's going to be wanting to read something in November and December or not, but if it does happen, I will share it in a Friday Reads as well as on Instagram whenever I start it. As always, people are welcome to join in on that. And actually for this one, Our Dark Duet, Megan from Rogers Reads is participating as well in that buddy read. So it'll be interesting to see what we pick next, or maybe we'll take the rest of the year off. I have no idea, but I will share when I know more. And then we get on to my one yearly challenge that I feel I'm just on the edge of success. Like, I'm so close to finishing it. And that is my A to Z graphic novel challenge, or as now I've I've learned it's actually A to Z comics or graphic novel challenge. Basically, and for me, like my determination was any visual works. And I have a separate one for manga, which I won't finish this year. I think I'll get to about half. But I'm only 3 letters away from the comics and graphic novel one. So I just needed to pick something for J, something for N, and something for V. So these are my choices for J, N, and V. And the first up for J is Jonesy, and this is by Sam Humphries. I don't know too much about this one. I think I picked it because it is Boombox, which is like the Boom Studios, but maybe like a younger audience. I went to Hoopla and I just kept on sorting things alphabetically in different ways. I think this one I did by publisher, and that's how I found it. And then for N, I am going to read Gnawed Away by Joshua W. Cotter. I don't know anything about this one at all, and I was surprised N doesn't have that many choices. I think J and N ended up being some of my last choices last year as well, so maybe next year I should start with them, or maybe they will have more volumes in the series. I think Jonesy is volume 1, and then this one on Goodreads it says volume 1, but I was under the impression when I read it that it was one volume, like that it was one contained story, so I'm not too sure. I picked it for the letter. I have no idea what it's about. And then for V, I'm going to read Voyage of the Deep, and this is by Sam Glanzman. This was a cover pick. Like, why would I pick anything else? So yeah, so that is what I'm going to pick for that. And then actually some of the other challenges that I do, like one I want to participate in is I am going to participate in nonfiction November, but very, very lightly. I am just going to go with the base goal of reading more nonfiction than I normally do. This year has actually been quite a low reading for nonfiction. Usually I read about 30% nonfiction, and this year it has been nowhere near that. I've read on average 1 to 3 titles a month, and I usually have been reading between 20 to 30 titles a month, so that's nowhere close. And so my goal will simply to read more. So it will be I want to read 4 nonfiction works in November, and I probably will pick from from books I'm currently reading, because I think I have, at this point in time, I think I have 12 titles on my currently reading are nonfiction, which is a lot. So this year was not, like, I read some really good nonfiction, and my priorities shifted this year because this year was this year. So I try not to get stressed about it, because when you shift your priorities, it does mean some things, just it changes the pace of things, it changes the strategy, and so now I just have to sort of clean up some of the stuff I started that I didn't finish. And yeah, and I don't know, I am really surprised that I've read so much fewer nonfiction works, but I've been happy with the nonfiction that I've read this year, so maybe it's not all quantity. So anyway, but for this month the goal is to read 4 titles, to finish 4 titles. And then my currently reading, every month I have the goal to cut my currently reading in half, to finish half of the books I'm currently reading. So I have, usually I always carry a fair amount on my currently reading. It's usually, I'm comfortable with 16 to 22, but for the past quite a while, it's been closer to 30, and I'm not terribly happy with that. So my goal will be to read 15 or finish 15 titles in November, and then a longer goal for the end of the year would be to get down to 10 or 15 titles on my currently reading when we change from 2020 to 2021. I never get to 0, and I'm okay with that, but I want to have a cleaner slate. Not going to be a clean slate, but a cleaner slate. So that's my goal. So my goal for November is to get 15 of the titles read, and then by the end of the year, I would like to only carry over 10 to 15 titles. And there are also some readathons that I just wanted to share that are happening in November, because they're both paranormal romance readathons. The first up is the paranormal romance readathon, which goes from October 30th to November 6th. I know Charles from Books on Stereo is one of the hosts for this, and I will link his announcement video up above for you to check out. And then later in the month, there is the Love in the Night readathon, which is created and hosted by Shay from Shay Geeks Out, and that runs from November 8th to the 14th. I initially was going to try and participate in both readathons, but I just started to feel a little stressy on the amount of titles I was reading or trying to read, so I decided I'm not going to participate, but I did just want to give them a shout out because I love paranormal romance, and I'm sure people who watch the channel like paranormal romance too. So if you haven't heard of them, I highly recommend participating in them. There's a great group of people with each of the different readathons that are hosts. So and I'll leave links down below for announcement videos and all of that good stuff. And then on to December, and I just picked 3 titles because, as I mentioned, December, all bets are off. Whatever I read is fine. If I don't read anything on my TBR, that's fine. It's just reading isn't the priority. Reading will happen. It's just not the priority. That being said, I would like to read any Debbie Macomber, who writes romance and is known for writing Christmas romance. Now this is Jingle All the Way, but I don't know what I'm going to read. Just anything. I want to pick something that's hopefully something that's a standalone or something that's a novella, like an in-betweener would totally be fine. So if you have a recommendation of where to start or what your favorite is or what you think I would like in particular, that would be awesome. She's one of the romance authors that I'm just surprised I've never read. And I thought I would try and rectify that this year. I did have it earlier in the year, this idea of reading iconic romance authors and reading one per month and work through different like historical and contemporaries and paranormals, and it just the energy just didn't happen. So I don't like, I still would love to do that as a project, but I just am not succeeding at it. But but for Debbie Macomber, like I want to read the December title, like a holiday title in December. Like that just makes the most sense to me. Another holiday title that I do want to read is Christmas in Her Arms by Avery Chandler, which is a pen name for Michelle Willingham, who is one of my favorite authors, and she is a romance author who writes mostly historical. I think this might be her first contemporary, or her first contemporary that doesn't have a time travel element. She has a couple of time travel-y ones, or at least one time travel novella. But I know her from writing Viking romances and medieval romances and historical romances set in Ireland, and I really love her as an author. So so this book came out this year in October, and I want to check it out. It is a contemporary romance, so I'm going to try and read that. And then also this one's the super bonus. It's another romance, holiday romance, and it is Undone by Caitlin Cruz. This is part of the Dare line from Harlequin, and I couldn't find a Harlequin one. I can only find it in the Mills and Boone. And this is the second book in the Hotel Temptation series, and I actually really want to read book 1, but I find with these ones you don't have to read them in order, and I think they're completely different settings. But this one actually does happen to be a holiday romance, so I thought it would be a good one to add into the mix. So I have Debbie Macomber, who I think she's pretty closed door. I know what's a sweet romance. I don't know that actually for sure. I'm just given from the people I know who like her, I would imagine they're more on the sweet side of things. And then so that will be more on the spicy side of things because that's what the Dare line is. And then also the Avery Chandler, because Michelle Willingham is one of my favorite authors. So that is it. Those are, I don't even remember how it was, that 6, 3, 9, 4. Oh, it gets a little sneaky there. So there's 12 titles in particular, and then some nonfiction, finishing off some nonfiction and some currently reading. So it's a bit, I don't know. I have no idea. Hopefully I'll do well at this TBR. I have no idea. And as I said, I will be reading more stuff. But I just, when I looked at my goals spreadsheet, I'm like, yeah, there's not many here I'm going to complete. And I'm actually fine with that. So completing one more goal with the graphic novel and comics, that'll be great. I did finish that one last year as well. So it's actually now been, if I do finish it this year, if I do complete it this year, it'll be one of my most successful reading challenges. Good to know. And that is also thanks to Hoopla upping their credits back from 4 to 8, which they did during the earlier days of the pandemic. So that has been really, really helpful in that challenge as well. They're much easier to search stuff, I find, than the library, although the library has increased their graphic novel and comics. What's it called? Like this, what's in circulation? Definitely it has increased this past year, which is great. But I find there's so much that it's a bit harder to search, and with Hoopla, you can search by like publisher or by recent or by most popular. And I find having those search functions or like those sort functions really helps me in terms of finding stuff that generally part of the reason I do the A to Z is to read stuff I haven't heard of before, and which this is definitely the case with these titles, and also to read some popular and iconic stuff too. But I like to always have a mix. I think that is just the truth. But these ones are ones that are new to me, so that's going to be exciting. So there you go. Links down below for the list of books, all of the people I mentioned, all of the readathon, all of the book club goodness, all of that being down below. And I forgot to say, if there does happen to be a romance holiday readathon happening this year, I haven't heard anything yet, but for the past couple years, someone has done one. So, Sarah... if Sarah does a readathon in December, no pressure. But if she does a readathon for holiday romances, I probably will participate, like, because I always do. I always say I'm gonna, like, all bets are off, and then I'm like, and then I do. But no pressure. Yeah, Sarah from The Bookish Knitter, if you're unfamiliar, I'll leave her down below, link down below as well. So yeah, so that's what I'm reading. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know, have you planned, like, are you planning the rest of the year? I have seen a couple of people put their rest of the year TBR up. I do plan on doing more videos in December. I probably will pre-film some stuff because it's hard to tell, how things will go. But yeah, that is what I plan on reading. Wow, for a short TBR, I still talked a lot. I think that's just consistent. A constant. Okay, we're done. Those are the books I plan on reading. Let me know, what are you planning on reading in November, and have you planned out the rest of the year, or are you going to still take it 1 month at a time? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll be back soon in another video. Thanks for watching.